Hello, it is Sunday and it is time for my mental health vlog. I hope you've all had a really great week. As y'all know from my vlog last week, I traveled to Portland, Maine this week for a work function, which is a team building exercise for my newly functioned team at work, or newly formed team at work. There were a lot of people there that I didn't know, and there were some people that I work with and know, but didn't know. So, talk about a few things. Traveling for business in the past or staying in hotels has always been a really big trigger for my addict. And, I did the steps I needed to do. I had a travel plan in place. I didn't expect the euphoric recall to be as strong as it was. For those of you that don't know what euphoric recall is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds. It's when an addict will remember the dopamine rush of acting out. You remember all the positive things that you got from your acting out behavior, and you don't really focus on any of the negative. So it was very easy for me to be like, man, I could download those apps and act out and nobody would know. Or I had thoughts of, wow, there's a bunch of military guys staying in this, hotel. I guarantee you some of them are on the apps. Or even just like going to the bathroom at the airport, which, I'm not proud to say I've acted out in bathrooms and airports before. So all these, these moments of the positive of those truly negative things. And that's what your addict brain does, is it tries to trick you into thinking that you only remember the good things about your acting out experiences. So you, as an addict in recovery, you have to be very, very aware when euphoric recall hits. And I did the things that I built into my travel plan to help manage that. I was checking in with 3 or 4 different people from my group every night when I wasn't at work. And I was consistently talking, with my boyfriend, during the evening and when I wasn't doing a work event. And I was trying very hard to stay focused and present in the things that I was there for, which was a huge benefit, as it turns out, when you actually pay attention and learn something. So that was the euphoric recall portion of my travel. Other than that, I had talked about I didn't want to go. I wanted to use my jury duty summons as an excuse not to go. I was looking for reasons like not to go. Everybody went. We were 16 of us. There was 2 people that were unable to travel. One because she is physically unable to travel, and one because I don't even know why he wasn't there in person, but they were on WebEx video the entire time during our training. One of the reasons I didn't want to go is because I know that I'm not great in situations where I don't know people. Like, one of 2 things is going to happen. I'm going to completely clam up and shut down and not make eye contact or conversation with anybody, or I'm going to become this character of humor and whatever, and confidence, which is sometimes an act. And I think during this week, I had both of those feelings. The first night I went from the airport, drop off stuff at the hotel, and then we meet everybody at this restaurant. It's intimidating when there's so many people around you, and like the one person you really know and you really like isn't there yet. Like that one person you can cling to. So that Monday night at dinner, I really felt like I had made the wrong decision to go to the meeting, and it's like I didn't feel like I fit in or belonged or had anything in common. Of course, here I am, sat at the very end of the table with a whole bunch of straight guys that I really didn't know very well. Like, one of them's on my team, but I know like almost nothing about him other than he's like middle American, grew up a jock. He's got that mentality of athlete, but he's super, super quiet. And then the other people who were there, it's always hard for me to make small talk and to make those connections with people. So I struggled. And then right as we were getting ready to leave, the one person I did know was super excited to see on this trip showed up. And I was like, yay. And she sat next to me, and I had that moment of, okay, I can get through this. I have Kat. I can get through this. So that was Monday night. Tuesday morning was our first full day in the office. We were told that our CIO wanted to have us all on webcam to have a meeting with us at 8:15 in the morning. So we all needed to be in the lobby at the hotel by 7:45. I got a phone call at 7:45. I had woken up to my alarm, and I had hit snooze. And I didn't hit snooze. I thought I hit snooze. I hit end, so it ended the alarm and it went off again. So I'm like, oh my God. I said, y'all don't wait on me. Y'all go to the office. I will take an Uber. So I get in the Uber. I have the address for the office. The address is like this gigantic shopping center with buildings facing all which way. I did not get like the suite number or anything. I just had the address for the office. So I'm like, well, let's just drive around until I see a door that says my company name. And finally I found one. So as I'm getting into the office, I'm sneaking into the conference room, I realize that we all have assigned seats. Where am I sitting? Right next to the manager for both teams. And who's on camera watching all of us? Our CIO. Not a great first impression. So, I sneak in as best as I can and blend in. I'm not one that blends in easily. So I blend in as best as I could. And luckily the CIO was dealing with something on his computer, so he wasn't watching us. So I snuck in, but it was not the best impression. And my boss knows I do not do mornings. And I told her, I will often work through lunch. I will quite often work past my end of the day time, but don't ever expect me to be on time in the morning, because the odds of that happening are just really small. So we laughed about it, but still I felt like, shit, that was not the example I wanted to put through. I stayed very focused during the things that we were learning, all the different modules in the meeting. And I'm glad I took my Focalin with me, so I had it in the morning, and I took an extra one in the afternoon, which I do when I need to stay focused all day, and that really, really helped. Also, when you're not spending all day trying to figure out your next act out, on the apps, trying to figure out what you're going to do after work or how you can squeeze somebody in, literally. When you're not worried about that, it's amazing how much you can actually learn from the conferences and the meetings where you're actually being taught something. And the thing that I learned is all these fears that I have about being thrust into not only a business analyst role, but also a business systems analyst role, but also to be thrown into a project manager role. I wasn't the only one that was dealing with the problems with that. And like the manager I was sitting next to flat out said, none of us are trained project managers. None of us have had any training or education on project manager. We are business systems analysts who are doing double duty as also project managers. So the focus we got during the training was very heavily on the resources that I've been begging for, and the structure and the training that I've been needing. So I'm really, really glad that I went to the conference. I'm also really glad that I did identify the fact that I seem to hide behind my humor or use my humor as a shield to keep people from getting to know the real me sometimes. Excuse me. So that is something I've been made aware of, and I want to make sure I work on it, because I always want to be as authentic as possible. We did some fun things while we were there. We went to the lighthouse and went to the coast. I'd never seen a rocky coastline, so that was really cool. And I got my moment of zen just staring at the water. I love the water. The water was cold. I put my hand in it. That was as much as I wanted to get into it. We went bowling. We had a lot of team building activities, and we ate a lot of food. So it was really just a really great experience, and I'm very glad that I went, because not only do I feel more confident in my job, I also got to know some of my coworkers that I work with on a daily basis a little bit better, and I'm grateful for that. I really thought I didn't want that, but I'm really glad that I got it. Let's see. So my takeaways for the meeting were: I got tools, I got support, learned I was not alone, I got a better knowledge of my coworkers, and stronger relationships. So very glad I went. My boss and my manager are very tiny people. They did not expect me to be as tall as I was. I did not expect them to be as short as they were. So that was a running joke throughout the entire week. My manager, I don't think she referred to me as my name the entire time. She just kept going, tall one, my favorite tall person, tall one. That was it. So that felt good. Other things I did this week while I was gone. Okay, here's a section about sex. So if you're uncomfortable, I get it, mute, whatever, I'll wave my hand when I'm done. I've had a book that was recommended to me almost 2 years ago to read for my sexual anorexia and trying to normalize sex after, as a sex addict in recovery. And I've had this book for 2 years. It was recommended by a good friend of mine in the group. My boyfriend's read it. My boyfriend read it as soon as I got it, and he wrote notes on it, and he's been begging me to read it. He's even bought me the audiobook twice, evidently, and I never could do it. So I have made a promise to him that I was going to read it this year, and I decided to listen to it on the longest leg of my flight to and from the work trip. And I finished the book on the way back, and he had also sent me his notes that he had written when he first read the book. And of course, he'd updated them because he knew I was reading them this weekend, so to make them more up to date with where we are. And I learned a lot from his notes. I learned more from his notes than I did from the book because it became more personal. And, he pointed out some things that I had already made myself aware of that I talked about, like the fact that I rushed through sex and things like that. And he made the comment about how it felt like I was just trying to rush it and get through it. He's like, I'm not one of your act out partners. I'm not something you're trying to get done with. I'm, whatever. So I read through his notes, and they were very, very correct. They were very, very correct. He was able to point out a lot of things, some of them that I had realized myself, and some of them I didn't. So on the way home, I reached out in an attempt to indicate that I would like to try to be intimate later that evening after I got home and we had dinner and whatnot. And before we went into it, I let him know what my expectations were, that I wanted to go at his pace. I didn't want to rush anything. I wanted to feel connected. I wanted to let him explore and look for erogenous zones in my body, which is something that I've not been able to really let him do or given him time to do. But I kept, even as we were being intimate, I had to keep reminding myself, no, go at his pace, slow down, stay where are your priorities, stay focused. And I will tell you, it was some of the most intense and best intimate sex that I've ever had, I think, at all, period, in my life, because I was so not focused on me, and I was so focused on the other person, and I was not seeking any kind of validation or finish line or anything. I just wanted to be in the moment with him. I wanted to feel connected with him. I wanted him to feel that I loved him as much as I wanted to feel loved by him. And it was quite a breakthrough for us. And, we talked about it afterwards, which I don't normally like to talk about sex afterwards. We talked about all the things that really, really worked. And, he was really proud of all the things that I had done to try and make it, better. And honestly, and I don't do this enough, I'm going to toot my own horn. I'm really proud of myself too, because a lot of that was uncomfortable. And essentially, I am trying to rewire my brain on how I think and view about sex, especially when it's sex with someone that I'm in a committed relationship with. So was very, very proud of myself and very, very happy with the end result that led to. And I feel like it's just made us closer and even have us have more communication, which we've always communicated pretty well with before. So I was very, very happy with how that turned out. Okay, I'm done with the sex part. So if you had me on mute, you can take me off. The other thing that I have done this weekend, actually I just did it today, was I've had homework from my therapist for the past couple of weeks that I haven't made time to do. I've had the time, I just haven't made the time to do it. One of them was to write a letter to a younger version of myself, letting me know that I didn't deserve to be treated the way that I was as a child. and the other is to write a letter to my father with no intent to send it. And I decided today, while I was watching my son play video games and my boyfriend was working on a project of his, I decided, I was thinking about how, I want to be the best father possible for my son. And I decided I needed to write one of those letters. And I had a notepad and a pen. I didn't even type it out. I went old school. I went pad and pen. And I filled 3 pages with very small handwriting. And when I was done, I had to remove myself, and I went to the bathroom and I cried for a little bit. I had to. I felt such a sense of release, such a sense of closure. I don't really know what all the feelings were. I guess I'm still processing it, but there were really intense feelings that I had after I wrote that letter. And I know I still have one more letter to write, but I'm really glad I took the time to do that today. Like I said, I'm never going to mail it. I will probably either keep it or shred it to make sure that it never does get seen, but it was very therapeutic to write that, which makes sense because my therapist told me to do it. And I mean, the main key element, I think, through all of the things I'm talking about this week is the work. Putting in the work. The work is hard. The work is not meant to be easy. All of us have things in our past, trauma or relationships or just negative things that we've taken with us and carried with us over the years, that if you don't do the work, those things don't go away. In fact, it's kind of like, really bad example for the outcome, but it's kind of like an oyster with a pearl. Like, you get that little piece of sand in there and you just consistently work it and 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 work it. And if you don't put in the effort, if you just let it sit there and fester, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, in this example, it turns into a pearl, but that's not how that works with trauma. It turns into self-deprecation. It turns into never loving yourself. It turns into taking out all of your anger and frustration and trauma on other people, often the people in your life that you love. So you have to do the work. And it's not easy, but you're worth the work. I wrote it down earlier because I really liked what it said when I said it earlier. I put it in a post on Facebook. It is the work that keeps us from becoming the things that we always fear we would. I don't think that's quite the same phrasing, but it's just that. If you don't put in the work to make yourself better, you're going to be that horrible version of yourself that you always dreaded. And I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for my boyfriend. I don't want that for my son. I don't want that for my friends. I want to be the best version of myself that I can be, and I've got to do the work to put it in. And I'm not saying I haven't done a lot of work, because God knows I have. But sometimes you're given work or assignments that you just don't want to do, and you put it off as long as possible, but you've got to do it. You've got to do the work. So that's my 2 cents. I mean, I always want everyone to be a better version of themselves, but that's my goal every day. I want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. I have that same goal every single day. Sometimes I reach it, sometimes I don't. But I have that goal every day. I hope you have something similar that you try to accomplish. Maybe not every day, but those positive, uplifting goals that make you a better version of yourself. Because you're worth being the best version of yourself, and the people around you are worth seeing the best version of you. Okay, that was long. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I had a lot to say. So if you hung with me, thank you. Check on your friends. Make sure they're doing okay. Check on your loved ones. Make sure they're doing okay. Check on yourself. What do you need to work on? What have you done for yourself that you can be proud of and compliment yourself on? And tell yourself, you've done a lot of work. Great job. It's very rewarding when you can tell yourself that and really mean it. All right. right, guys, that's all for me. You'll have a great rest of your weekend. Have an amazing week ahead, and I will check in with y'all next Sunday. Bye, guys.